me mo bibi akwaba eba platform we so na sa case we aba no case we ende ebe hu emu no kware na you see from the time MPP for share say omo defend this case we no and na ebi mu hu say dabi ade we there is something that is hidden muni amokai eye Adu Boahen case ne bae how people like Poadomotri omo a level very spirited eye defense at the back of eye Adu Boahen. In fact omo ma yeti ase say as a attorney general no nim de woye they made it look like say attorney general no is being deceived by the Ioko boss eye Remonacha. MPP throughout radio stations, TV stations, they've tried to vilify the Attorney General. They've tried to make the Attorney General look bad. Even though yenina yakin kind witness statements, Emma yenina ye who said that the case is looking bad for Adu Boahen. No. MPP for tried as much as possible to make it look like say it was just a persecution. Say Adu Boahen on yehe. Now so Attorney General and odi o time keke a person of the chi Adu Boahen etum. And then an accused person nanka first no yese wono ni Adu Boahen ena eboa ya wo mo bokro no and that accused person asesa aba the country attorney general say mesrew first na me say me bokro no indeed attorney general Adu Boahen nyama oye ya na ade a oye ye no indeed oye ye na medemento ma ba bebo attorney general no ntoma no na ye ni na ya kwetia Adu Boahen. An accused person today has or is now becoming a witness for the Attorney General. Na ebeye krabehe ewo court. Na answer na me read accused person no. Na nkrata atreo no. Mesrel ene your first time subscribe. Na se wo tie me na wefuso. Ana se wo tie me na wankasa we put you on weight. Mr. Me recommend this book we ama. And now what dofu bia nefusun and dofu bia we put you on weight now person ne sotia. Me recommend the book we ama. On more platform we so more to book no. Some of them are saying say omo edi inyama book we ekanye esono. By just a week they are seeing senior womufu asha se form. They are seeing senior womuso ete. Now I will advise you if you get this book, say at least for 1 month. The book ne be kimbiane ye. Book ne be ma onyama miense wasa oye. Ye. Na wo be hu senia wefu no esobeti. Wo be hu senia weight no ebeko form. So open book ne bi ato a very simple. It's just 100 cedis. Eye number ne wo screen is no 055-807-4986. Free and now WhatsApp esa number we. Wo be nya book no in the PDF form or the tree video form. So watch a video we our TikTok. Well, you just have to call the number. But if you are watching this video on YouTube, there is also an additional link in the comment box. I will click here. Obenya book no easy. Our phone so. Now yanko a year and sem no emu. Inti an accused person in a person of a year Mildred Donko. So muni amokai Adu Boahen case na sikana allegedly near si we no. Na one another person a friend of Mildred Donko. Na oye former worker ewo eye bank ono na ne yesi wonu ono erane scheme na no mu wie sika no ende Samuel de donko yi aba bonten eba be kase o pese oka the prosecution team no eho na wo mu expose Kwabena Adu Boahen because indeed ensem wa ye de to Kwabena Adu Boahen ho no ana ensem wa de to ne so no oyeye now as the notice of withdrawal from prosecution. Inti oba beka prosecution hono ama prosecution no I withdraw the case against Ono Mildred Donko. As you take notice, the Honorable Attorney General has pursuant to Section 59 of the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act 1960, Act 30, withdrawn Mildred Donko, the third accused person, hearing from prosecution in respect of all the charges brought against her in this case. As it dated at the office of the Attorney General, the Law House, Liberia Road, Accra, this 15th day of October 2025. Now, no. Washa, or say prosecution witness statement of Mildred Donko. Or say, my name is Mildred Donko. I live at Oyarefa. Oyarefa is a suburb of Accra currently. Currently, I am self-employed. Immediately before I became self-employed, I worked with accused person 1 and accused person 2, helping them to run the affairs of their businesses, including accused persons 4's businesses. Immediately before working with the accused persons, I worked at the Universal Merchant Bank Limited, hereinafter known as UMB. In Accra, I worked there from July 2007 up until sometime in July 2018. I worked there, first as a teller and later as a salesperson. Now, if you've been following this case for a while now, you know Mildred Donko and you know the role she played. What you say? Intino, onona or my introduction, I want to say yes. Na oye juma ewo Universal Merchant Bank, friend UMB. Now, I see in July 2018, I worked there first as a teller and later as a salesperson. I say I know accused person 1 and 2. I also know accused person 4. I say the company, right? I say I got to know them at the Cedar Mountain Assembly of the Assemblies of God Church, hereinafter known as the church. Into your see what name Adu Boahen. Na send your name Adu Boahen. Sorry. And you answer him say Adu Boahen. I say na oye ne ho sofo anase wo preachi. Sorry them. I mean most of the videos they go viral. Oka se mumbo misiketi oni nyama. Into your see oni momo sorry. And this corresponds with the story driver no on also the witness statement of my na driver nature say on also oni momo no muni na kwa sorry baako. I say the church is in East Legon, Accra. Accused person 1 and accused persons 2, and I are members of the church. I am also a treasurer at the church. I first met accused person 1 at the church on his 30th birthday. That was about 14 years ago. Reverend Wingham, the head pastor of the church, introduced accused person 1 to me. At the time, Reverend Wingham wanted a day for Mumfanchen while over Chemina, me crass idiot, me crass idiot, na mana, and one a DTG nigga, na cast Ninyama barbecue trim, motos Ninyama. Anyway, I see, Osofono, and introduce you more. 14 years ago, no Mushia, no Osofono, your friend, Reverend Wingham. I see, Reverend Wingham, the head pastor of the church, introduced accused person 1 to me. At the time, Reverend Wingham wanted me to assist accused person 1 to pay his Thanksgiving offering to the church. At the time, I didn't know the work that accused person 1 did. Okay. Subsequently, accused person 1 and I became friends. I later introduced banking products from my bank, UMB, to him, and consequently convinced him to open accounts with the bank. Accused person 1 opened a personal bank account for himself. He also opened a corporate account for his company, A4. This was sometime in the year 2010. At the time of opening the account for accused person 4 could not meet the minimum requirement for 2 directors. Accused person 4 had only 1 director, as the other director on accused person 4's record was deceased. To satisfy the minimum directorship requirement for accused person accused person 1 requested that I become the second director, which I consented to. I put my name down at the second as the second director. That is how I became a director of accused person 4. Oh, okay. Into here, my many training same one. O share the mamene can as of at the end of the day in crowd or no crowd no name in same name. And you see, the story no, it's very typical e Ghana ha. So say send ya wodi hu Adu Boahen and they say, sorry, and no sofo because on no mami no ye juma or bank. It me sure so ye juma or bank no. Sorry ni sube use the services for ebia sorry ni esi kakan mu because normally sa na esi me oba ma sorry a omo kan sika yo mo ye juma or bank. very normal. Obia Ghana has obi okwa sorry kesi bi asa. Omo mo ye adwuma wo banks, omo ye tellers wo banks no. Omo na ye mo hwe the financial side of the church. Inti no, ma me ye adwuma wo bank. Na ne sofo ba be ka tre ne say, "Oh, obi wo hwa ye fe no Adu Boahen. Na opese ochia sika. On say ya ye kwa sorry na ya ye gidi say ye fe bibi Thanksgiving. Asori a me ko say every month ye sha ase a ye man envelope na ye de Thanksgiving sika him. Nti opese ochia ne Thanksgiving. Nti maami a wo ye adwuma wo bank no on hwe. Nti maami osi wo ni ma branch yi. Nti abranch yi di sika echia ye bo ana wo tia Thanksgiving no. Me ye sure say ho no maami ni hu say da bia branch yi em say sika wo ni nsem. So ka tra branch ni say, "Oh, me ye adwuma wo bank. Na bank na me ye adwuma no. Ye wo products bebre investment products bebre a wo betumi aye den. Etumi ababe save wo bank o. Ena Adu Boahen edi maami n'echi. Ena oko create account ewo UMB because e ho na maami ni wo ye adwuma. Until later na Adu Boahen so be ye say, "Oh, our company bi na the company ne kan no pese o create account ba ne company no." Now so Ghana mratres o pese o create account ma o company a. E wo say o use directors mienu. Now so company na abranti Adu Boahen pese o create account e ma no. Director ba ko pe. And okache maame ne say okay, and your maame fa wonya me second director. And na maame ne pene so because oni ne kwa sorry. Inti ende sa company no. And the Adu Boahen sika allegedly yesi we no. Sa company ni nso eji sika ni binti ende sa company ni nso ye de na kwa kogina court. Inti ama maame no nso ne ho aba bekem because ende woko company no a ye hwe mpenyufo a omudin ewo so a maame ne nso din eka ho. Inti ama maame no ne ho aba betre no because of ade a woye ma Adu Boahen no allegedly, right? Now say in July 2018 I resigned from UMB after I was transferred from the Legon branch to the Tema branch. I have a copy of the transfer letter with me. It is dated November 13th, 2017. I wish to tender it in evidence, Index V. I resigned because I had been experiencing health issues, including severe migraines. So my husband and I decided that I resigned since the bank was not willing to post me to a location closer to Oyarifa. Upon resignation, I informed Accused 1 that I was no longer working with UMB. I told him I needed a new job. Accused 1 agreed to assist by involving me in the operations of Accused 4. I combined the duties with Accused 1 assigned to me at Accused 4 with my treasurer duties in the church. Inti maame ne say UMB before a bank no eba be transfer no ekotema. Ono so ti Oyarifa ewa ono so aba be yare ontumi mfiri Oyarifa nkotema every day so ne ni kunu etiase e na wo mo resign ye atiase nti o resign ye adwuma no oka tre eye Adu Boahen say sisi ama resign o mi hia adwuma ene Adu Boahen ka say oh unhia adwuma sa time 2018 MPP aba mu se Adu Boahen ka say oh unhia adwuma don't worry. Me company na me te ye na me ma odi udin e kan ho ma me no. Me employer was our company ni mu. And I'm a so okay. I say, however, I never received a letter of employment or appointment at A4. Therefore, I was not given specific duties nor formal terms of employment. I only acted on ad hoc instructions from Accused 1 and Accused 2. However, I was paid a monthly stipend. For instance, I was paid 3,137 Ghana cedis up to January 2021. I have copies of some of my pay slips with me. I wish to tender them in evidence. Index W series. I received stipend payment until the commencement of investigations in this case this year. Most of my work was done remotely from home, and I sparingly visited A4's offices. On average, I visited the office once every 3 weeks. So ono de ye man adwuma no ene yeti aneka 3,000 cedis every month. Enti say ye the company ne di boni a ono de onim ho hwe ono de onim say ye na adwuma no ye. Ya man appointment letter de nanso yeti aneka aketia ye de man ni na no or the attender in as evidence. And I think that this explains why asem ne bae no em se maami we ne yese na ne bu efu e wo court a na ne bu efu ye friend say the lawyer attachia because later me sure say maami kra ba be hu evidence we hu ne say ye say ye de me edi mu asem na ne bu fu attachia ye say okike mugu attachia so wo court no nti ende ade ne ho akwakotale prosecution a trese ohwe a ye de ne din din semboni nti no allegedly nti no oboa ne yache Adu Boahen atum. I say along the line in 2018 A1 and A2 introduced me to another company, B&C Communications Bureau Limited. A1 called me on the phone that we should open a new company. The company registration documents were brought to me at home to sign. A1 also said we needed to open a new bank account for the company. He instructed me to get the account opening done. A1 did not discuss with me or made me aware of the operations of B&C Communications Bureau Limited. The only task I undertook in the name of the company was to make payments and withdrawals as instructed by A1 or A2. At 1 year, Sanso Bekaten say, oh, ye be a new company. Into a company, no. So now your company no be account in my. Into yes, be a company, no. New company no be account in my. Into if any other company, no. A details, a brand, no. Documents brand now one also or send sign here because a boss no. As I mentioned, A1 and A2 from time to time instructed me to carry out tasks on their behalf in respect of A4. For example, they had on occasion instructed me to facilitate the payment of checks signed by A1 and A2 to third parties. These bank instructions were usually sent to me directly through email. On other occasions, A1 sent such emails directly to the bank and put me in copy. I have copies of such emails. I wish to tender them in evidence in the X series. Additionally, A1 sometimes instructed me to make check withdrawals from A4's accounts with UNB and sometimes also from the accounts of B&C Communications Bureau Limited. So basically, maame no so ne nsɛm a ɔde ɛto dwa no no ate aseɛ, which sort of on the streets, and what people are saying is that it is making the Attorney General's case solid. But I mean, early days yet, we are still waiting to see what's going to happen. I'm saying MPP for more premo who can say Papa no innocent or innocent. We'll get to know whether indeed he's innocent or not. Montreal, your comment box in the moment.